This smells, y'all. This smells.
It amounts to the largest alleged cap circumvention scheme in the history of professional sports, at least in America. That's the scale of what we're talking about.
This is after blackmailing the Clippers in bringing Paul George to the Clippers, demanding that he would do that, get Paul George, and I'll come to the Clippers. If not, I'm going to join LeBron with the Lakers, where Magic Johnson was there. This is what Kawhi Leonard did. There's no way that he should walk away from this unscathed.
Kawhi Leonard has never needed to raise his voice to get what he wants. He names his price, stays quiet, and waits. And what Stephen A. Smith did on First Take last week didn't feel like a normal reaction to a podcast. It sounded more like he was reading a 7-year bill on national television. Because before the sponsorship controversy and before the investigation, there was July 2019, and Smith's word for what happened back then was blackmailing the Clippers. That is his characterization, and it immediately dragged one of the biggest decisions in Clippers history back into the spotlight. Because right now, Kawhi Leonard is in one of the strangest situations imaginable. He reportedly isn't supposed to remain a Clipper, except the transaction still hasn't been completed. On June 30th, the Clippers agreed to send him to Toronto for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, and 2 unprotected first-round picks. But that deal remains frozen while the NBA finishes an investigation that opened last September. Adam Silver has told reporters the matter needs to be resolved before next season begins. So the Clippers are sitting there waiting for a verdict they can't predict. Then Pablo Torre reported the name of a second company, and Smith opened First Take by going straight at the controversy.
This is egregious if it's true. If it's true, we're talking about banishment for Steve Ballmer, as far as I'm concerned, for at least a year. We're talking about, and it should be entertained that Kawhi Leonard should be banned for a year. Yeah,
Smith even floated banishment for Steve Ballmer, for the owner, for a full year, rather than simply talking about a fine or another strongly worded response from the league office. But Smith didn't stay focused on Ballmer. He quickly turned toward Leonard, and to explain his point, he jumped 7 years into the past. July 2019, Leonard had just won a championship in Toronto and grabbed Finals MVP, making him arguably the most powerful free agent in basketball. He chose the Clippers, but his arrival came alongside another massive move.
This is the same dude that blackmailed the Clippers. This is the same dude that in July of 2019 arrived only after telling them, get Paul George, or else I'm going to take my talents to the Los Angeles Lakers. And because of that, the Clippers ended up trading about 4 or 5 picks, along with Danilo Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
The same dude that blackmailed the Clippers, Smith said, using his own description of what happened. According to Smith's argument, Leonard didn't simply ask for another star. His signing was effectively tied to the Clippers landing one, and Los Angeles agreed to the Paul George trade on the same night it agreed to sign Leonard. Smith gets the general shape of the story, but the actual price paid by Los Angeles was even bigger than the version he described.
And what did they have to give up? The rights to swap 2 first-round picks, one protected first-round pick, and 5 unprotected first-round picks, along with Danilo Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That was what was given up to give Kawhi Leonard what he demanded.
Here's the itemized damage. Oklahoma City received Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. 5 firsts, 2 swaps, and a young guard who would eventually become one of basketball's biggest stars, all connected to acquiring Paul George and securing the Leonard era. And look at how that played out. Gilgeous-Alexander won MVP, Finals MVP, and a championship in 2025, then won MVP again in 2026. Meanwhile, across 7 seasons with Leonard, the Clippers never reached the NBA Finals. Smith takes that brutal contrast and throws the credit directly toward Leonard.
as much as we want to give credit to Sam Presti, the president of basketball operations for the Oklahoma City Thunder for winning the title, the number one person who deserves the credit is Kawhi Leonard because of the assets the Clippers had to give away in order to acquire him years ago. He's the one that you should credit with Oklahoma. They should give him a ring for what he did for that franchise.
Saying Oklahoma City should give him a ring, it's meant as a jab. And the reason it hits so hard is obvious. The championship ring he's talking about belongs to Oklahoma City, not Los Angeles. That was only the arrival. The contracts are where the numbers really start stacking up. Leonard signed with Los Angeles in 2019 for 3 years and $103 million, taking the max at a shorter term than the 4-year commitment he could have made.
He hasn't signed not one, he has signed not one, not two, but he has signed 3 maximum deals, or maximum level deals with the Los Angeles Clippers since arriving in July of 2019.
Then, in August 2021, he signed a 4-year extension worth roughly $176 million. In January 2024, he declined a $48.8 million player option and signed another 3-year extension worth around $150 million. Keep that January 2024 date in mind, because Torre's reporting later circles directly back to it.
This Clippers still made it a point to pay him one contract after another, despite about 30-plus games missed, 30+% of his games missed during the regular season, and just as much, if not even more, during the postseason. They still haven't been to an NBA Finals. The conference finals that they went to against Phoenix years ago in 2021 was without him because he was hurt again. And somehow, some way, he's milked the franchise for all it's worth.
Smith used the phrase, milked the franchise, and when he paired that criticism with Leonard's availability history, the argument became much sharper than a basic TV talking point. Leonard tore his ACL during the 2021 conference semifinals and missed the entire following season, all 82 games, while playing under a major contract for a franchise constructed around him. Injuries are part of professional sports and aren't something a player simply chooses, but the missed time still became a huge part of the Clippers' reality and the debate surrounding what they received from their enormous investment. At the same time, you can't erase what Leonard has actually accomplished. 2 championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and last season, at age 34, he averaged a career-high 27.9 points per game across 65 appearances. Doing that in a 14th NBA season is ridiculous, and it's exactly what makes this entire Clippers story so complicated. The Clippers finished 42-40, landed 9th in the Western Conference, and missed the playoffs entirely. Think about what that means. Statistically, they got one of the best versions of Kawhi Leonard they had seen, and the season still ended before the first round.
There is nobody that should give a master class on how to get paid without working better than Kawhi Leonard. That brother invents ways to miss work.
That's why Stephen A. Smith's next line hits so hard. Invents ways to miss work. It was probably his harshest shot of the week, but it also became the bridge into Pablo Torre's reporting. Because now the controversy isn't simply about basketball games Leonard missed. The bigger question is about outside sponsorship money and what work, if any, was required in return. The NBA investigation that opened last September centers on Aspiration, a green financial company that sponsored the Clippers and received a $50 million investment from Steve Ballmer. Torre reported that Aspiration agreed to pay Leonard $28 million in cash, with the arrangement connected to him remaining a Clippers player. A former employee told Torre the deal was created to circumvent the salary cap. That is an allegation, not an established NBA finding, and the Clippers strongly denied it in writing. Their statement said, "Neither the Clippers nor Steve Ballmer circumvented the salary cap," while calling the suggestion that Ballmer invested in Aspiration to funnel money toward Leonard absurd. Ballmer has also denied wrongdoing directly. He says the Clippers introduced Aspiration to Leonard's representatives and weren't involved after that. Leonard addressed the controversy once at Media Day, saying he doesn't believe the no-show characterization is accurate, that he understands the full contract and the services he was required to provide, and describing the rest as conspiracies and clickbait. Then last week, Torre dropped another company into the story.
An anonymous high-level source under contract for the Intuit Dome who alleged the Daktronics agreement, quote, was 1,000% a way to circumvent the salary cap. It was funneling money from the Clippers through Daktronics back to Kawhi Leonard.
Funneling money from the Clippers is how one source characterized the situation. Again, that's the source's allegation rather than an official finding, and Torre presents it with that distinction. The second company is Daktronics, which built the massive $100 million video board inside the Intuit Dome. A spokesperson told Hunter Brook Media, Torre's reporting partner, that Leonard currently has no active contract with the company. And here's where the responses start looking very different. On Aspiration, Ballmer denied the allegations directly. On Daktronics, neither Ballmer nor the Clippers had publicly addressed Torre's specific reporting at the time described.
This is the second hidden sponsorship deal where there is no evidence that Kawhi Leonard publicly has done anything, and more to the point, this deal was never announced either. So Aspiration, a $28 million contract plus $20 million in equity in that company, guaranteed to Kawhi Leonard for him to do nothing.
Then comes the detail driving the whole controversy. For him to do nothing. 2 companies, 2 reported sponsorship arrangements. Yet Torre's reporting points to no obvious campaign, commercial, or public appearance tied to Leonard that could easily explain the payments. That doesn't prove wrongdoing, but it creates the exact question the NBA investigation has to sort out.
Why would a company pay him, allegedly, millions of dollars as a sponsor or endorser or a partner, whatever term you want to use there, if they were to never announce it to the public?
Because an endorsement nobody sees promoted is naturally going to attract scrutiny. That's why Smith stops treating the situation like some random one-off controversy.
But now that we have 2 instances where corporate partners of the LA Clippers are endorsing Kawhi Leonard to the tune of millions of dollars, it's too much of a pattern to be dismissed as a coincidence.
Too much of a pattern is the argument, and the Clippers have faced salary cap circumvention trouble before. Torre reaches all the way back to 2015.
This is not a first-time offense. In fact, 2015, DeAndre Jordan, you can look this up, Steve Ballmer gets fined, the Clippers get fined $250,000 because they try to offer DeAndre Jordan a marketing deal with Lexus, which was a team sponsor of the Clippers at the time.
And there's actual NBA paperwork behind that history. Not a first-time offense. Becomes especially sharp when you remember the league fined the Clippers $250,000 in 2015 for violating anti-circumvention rules involving a third-party endorsement presented to DeAndre Jordan during a free agency pitch. Ballmer later described the violation in an internal memo as inadvertent. 11 years later, the same franchise is facing scrutiny under the same broad area of league rules. But this time, the alleged money involved is dramatically larger. And then Torre goes after the defense before it can fully settle in.
He was in the meetings. Doc Rivers is there, Steve Ballmer is there. Steve Ballmer, anybody who knows how he's dealt with the basketball team and the Intuit Dome, by the way, they know he measured the distance between the toilets. Okay? He designed this.
He designed this, is Torre's interpretation, not something established by an NBA ruling or proven document, so that distinction matters. But the accusation itself is still explosive, because it isn't framing Ballmer as an owner who simply failed to notice something happening around his franchise. It raises the much more serious question of whether the structure was intentional. None of that has been proven yet, and that's where the story currently stands. Dan Patrick's approach isn't screaming outrage either, which almost makes his jokes cut deeper.
He might, he might say, look, I don't know anything about this. These paychecks just kept coming in, and I wasn't going to ask any questions. Yeah, Paulie.
I love that historically Kawhi is the face of load management. Now he's got 7 jobs.
And he's loaded, too.
Leonard has already spent years being labeled the face of load management, and now the controversy gives that reputation a strange new twist. A second job and then potentially a third.
It's sort of like a reverse Ohtani where he's like, money's just flooding into my account and I have no idea why.
Yeah, no need to ask that question. You're like, all right. Yes, Todd.
Is there enough hours in the day to work all these no-show jobs?
Patrick even throws out a reverse Ohtani, turning the whole thing into a brutal punchline. The underlying question remains serious, though. Why was money reportedly connected to Leonard through companies that, according to the reporting, showed little or no visible public use of him? Until the NBA finishes investigating, that question is hanging over Leonard, Ballmer, and the Clippers. And Dan Patrick says the quiet part about how the NBA could really make a punishment hurt.
But he got caught. So you can sit there and go, well, everybody does this. He got caught. Like, how much can you punish a multi-billionaire? And I was told, well, draft picks will get their attention. And I said, because if you fine the Clippers, how much can you fine them for what's going on? Like a billion? And he's got it, too.
Draft picks will get their attention because when an owner is worth billions, a fine can become just another expense. But draft picks, those are assets money can't simply replace. And that's exactly where Stephen A. Smith takes this argument next.
Adam Silver is going to have to come down with a heavy hand, and I'm talking about banishment for at least a year for both the owner and the player. It's something like that. You're talking about dissuasive measures needing to be taken so people will know not to do this again. I'm talking about confiscation of draft picks.
Confiscation of draft picks. Smith isn't talking about a fine or a suspension by itself. He's talking about taking away the franchise's future assets.
Well, vaporizing the deal is not good enough. If he's guilty of this, vaporizing the deal isn't good enough because you just leave him out there on the free agent market and somebody can gobble him up and pay him. You got to attach a suspension with that vaporization of the deal in order to make sure that ramifications are truly felt.
Basically, he's pointing toward the kind of punishment the NBA handed down in the Joe Smith case, and he knows exactly how serious that comparison is. Back in 2000, an arbitrator found that the Minnesota Timberwolves had entered into a secret agreement with Joe Smith. His contracts were voided, owner Glenn Taylor was suspended for a year. The organization was fined $3.5 million, and Minnesota initially lost 5 first-round picks. 5. That number jumps off the page because it's the same number of first-rounders the Clippers already gave Oklahoma City in the Paul George deal that helped bring Leonard to Los Angeles. But here's the distinction that can't get buried under all the noise. The major allegations being investigated remain unproven. The aspiration arrangement, the reported Daktronics connection, and whether money moved in the manner sources have alleged. Adam Silver has publicly approached the matter with a presumption of innocence. And until the investigation produces its findings, allegations have to remain allegations. But Stephen A. Smith's broader argument about the cost of the Kawhi era doesn't depend on the investigation. In July 2019, the Clippers made a gigantic trade to secure Paul George while pursuing Leonard, sending away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. Leonard then received 3 major contracts during his Clippers tenure, missed an entire season recovering from an ACL injury, and Los Angeles never reached the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, the young guard Oklahoma City received became Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the player who now has 2 MVP awards and a championship ring. That part isn't an allegation. The trade package, contracts, injuries, playoff results, and Oklahoma City's rise are all part of the basketball record. And that's what makes this story so messy. Kawhi Leonard has twice been the best player on a championship team, winning 2 Finals MVP awards, and at his peak, he was absolutely the kind of superstar teams build around. The debate was never whether Kawhi could play basketball at an elite level. The debate is how much power one superstar should have over the direction of an entire franchise, and how expensive that power can become when the championship never arrives. The Clippers have effectively been paying for that gamble since 2019, and now the controversy reaches a question that could matter to every other NBA owner.
Happened with him. Chances are it didn't start with him. Chances are something's going on. And it can open a whole Pandora's box involving the NBA that's going to be uncomfortable for everybody to see.
If investigators ultimately prove that prohibited compensation was used to work around salary cap rules, what precedent does the league set? Because if the NBA proves something happened here, this can't just be treated like celebrity drama and forgotten a week later. It becomes a league governance issue with consequences far beyond Leonard and the Clippers. Smith used the word blackmail. Torrey has described the alleged situation in sweeping terms. Those are their characterizations, not established league findings. And now Adam Silver and the NBA have to determine what the evidence actually supports. So where do you stand? Did the Clippers get exactly what they signed up for when they handed Kawhi Leonard enormous influence over their future in 2019? Or is Leonard taking too much heat for contracts and trades that the Clippers front office willingly approved? Hit the like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, subscribe for more NBA stories like this, and share this video with someone who follows the league. Then jump into the comments and tell us who you think deserves the most responsibility for how the Kawhi Clippers era played out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.